Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Toilets to Titles. My name is Justin Stevens, and we're back for another off-season team-by-team breakdown episode. As you can tell, I'm coming at you live from the Giants locker room, so that means we are doing the New York Giants breakdown show. So I've got some amazing guests on for today. Pretty excited about this episode. I've been excited about it for a little while. So many of you know our boy Joe Clark from the chat along the side. It's going to be kind of funny having this episode without seeing his chat constantly popping up. But this is actually a fan of the show. I've dropped in a few of those along the way throughout these episodes. So it's always awesome to be able to bring the guys on to let them talk about their team. So Joe, before I get started, I always forget this part too. I got to do the whole, blah, blah, blah. Find us Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook. You see it all down there at the bottom. We are now on the Patreon as well. So please help us out. We have already got a few Patreons. We only just started this like a week or two ago, and we already have a few awesome Patreons that are helping us out. The more you guys can help us out, the more and better content we're going to be able to put out for you. Also, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Again, it's all about helping us out. And if you let me know that you have a YouTube channel as well, I'll hit you back and I'll watch a few episodes to see how much I enjoy your show as well. The 5-star review, we're all about that 5-star review for the Frankenstank League, the listeners' Frankenstank League. That thing is building into a monster. It's going to be a 3-copy league this year because we have a lot more people interested in it than we did last year. If you give us that 5-star review, you're going to get an invite to the Frankenstank League. Find our show at Toilets to Titles. That's the main best way. Across the bottom of the screen, you'll see the handle for all the other guys that are a part of the Toilets to Titles team. All right, now that that's done, Joe at JoeJ_Clark. How you doing tonight, Joe?
I am doing absolutely fantastic, and I'm so happy to be here with you, Justin, as well as Nick and Stephanie, who are like Giants royalty, Giants fandom royalty, and I follow them on Twitter and YouTube respectively, and I'm so happy to be here with these guys.
Yeah, and your icon.
I'm done brown nosing.
Yeah, your avatar on all the YouTube that pops up is Daniel Jones. So obviously, if you're going to have Danny,
that's my man.
You're going to be a fan. So
we'll be talking about Danny soon.
Yeah, oh yeah. Just going clockwise around the table here, we have Stephie Smalls from at FTN Fantasy, at FTN Bets, and also on Instagram /Stephie Smalls. Stephie, you're like all over the place. I see you as a guest on just about every other episode. So I threw out a DM to you just in the hopes that maybe we might be able to get you to come on. And I was very shocked that it took you next to no time at all to say, yes, I'd love to talk about my Giants. So John, the other host on the show, is actually the guy that mentioned to me that he knew that you were a Giants fan. So I know he's watching this episode. So I appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us about the Giants tonight.
There is nothing I would rather do than talk about the New York Giants. I saw the message, saw Nicky Snacks, and I was like, of course, we have yet to be on a show together. We go back to my first days on Twitter back in October, harassing each other and the Twitter community about the New York Giants. So, of course, very excited to be on, Joe. Everyone, thanks for having me.
Okay, now I'm floored. Now I'm shocked because the way you guys banter back and forth before the show, it's like you guys were brother and sister. I'm shocked that you have not been on an episode together. And I feel honored because honestly, so Nick Ercolano is the host of BDGE, the Big Dogs Gotta Eat, and he's got all of his buddies on there, and Nicky Snacks is one of them that's constantly on there giving him a hard time, and I'm a huge fan of that show. Just so you know, I only started listening.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, I only started listening to podcasts like 3 years ago, and BGGE was one of the first ones that I hopped on, and I won my league. One of my main leagues that I'm, you always have that one that's better than the rest. I won my league that year, and there's no doubt in my mind that it was because of Nicky Snacks and Nick Ercolano and their advice. Guys, if you're out there and you're watching this, it's more than just the Giants. These guys know fantasy football, but also I was moved by Ercolano's other episodes where it's all about the business end of it. He does a lot of episodes like that where it's about networking and behind the scenes stuff. That's whenever I decided, you know what? John reached out to me about Toilets to Titles. Let's give it a shot. Let's see. And I've had so much fun in this industry. So I know I've really kind of bumped you up here, Nicky, and your show a little bit, but it's all down there at the bottom at Fade the Public. It's hilarious. I didn't even know about at bleeding__blue. But Joe was just telling me about it because he listens to that show all the time. So I'm definitely going to check that out as well. But Nicky, again, thanks for your time. I appreciate you coming on, my man.
Well, Justin, I really appreciate you having me on here. And yes, so that's it's been a wild few years for myself, and I guess for big dogs and everything. And just I don't understand why people want to listen to anything I say, because I may be the most ridiculous human being that's ever graced God's green earth. But here we are, and I'm very appreciative of you having me on. And yes, Steph, obviously from early days, just continuously harasses me, and I don't say anything rude or disrespectful at all, and just comes at me like a bat out of hell. And it's, listen, I've lost countless hours of sleep during almost this year or whatnot, and
we were partners in crime at one point, and then it all got twisted.
Yeah, and then something happened. something turned. I'm not sure what it was.
Saying that we were going to go 0-17 every week, like yeah, it's like you threw me there.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, that's how I operate. That's my fandom. So I don't want to hear it, and I don't want to argue tonight. I think this is it should be a very peaceful conversation, and it probably won't be. But Justin, again, thank you very much for having us on, and this should be a good time. So thank you very much, and we appreciate your support for real. Thank you.
Right on. So for anybody out there watching, yeah.
1 second, Justin. If you want fireworks at the end of the show, bring up Tiki Barber. I'm a fan of Nick's. Bring it up if you want. Just bring up Tiki Barber at the end.
Hey, listen. Like I told you,
the buttons to push. I don't want to push buttons, but I know the buttons to push.
Hey, it's like I told you guys before we went live, man. And once we get going, once I ask you this first question, this is your show, so you do what you got, what you feel right. But yeah. So anybody that's watching the show for the first time, these off-season breakdowns, anyway, they are a little bit different from our normal show. Just want to let you know, I'm just throwing it all out there. I am not a Giants fan. I don't know as much about the Giants as these guys will. That's why I'm having them on to talk about the Giants and breaking them down. If you're a fan of another show, another team, I've got other shows. I'm doing all 32 this offseason. Go check them out. But I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to ask a softball question. Just going to throw it up there. And Joe, we'll actually get started with you. You guys can either go around the horn. I have a feeling that that's not going to happen. You're probably going to interrupt each other a lot, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
That's what we do.
But just so that I know for sure that Joe will get a chance to talk, I'm going to ask Joe first. The definite.
He's talking to you, Steph.
No, he's not. I'm an angel now.
Believe me, Justin. Kenny Galladay, right?
I tell you what, I can't even answer the question. All three of you. I love it.
We're from the New York area. This is what we do. And we don't mean to be rude. This is just what we do. Kenny Galladay, right? Am I right? Kenny Galladay?
I got you.
I'll take it from here.
Kenny Galladay, go for it.
Go for it. Kenny Galladay, I loved this free agency season because I'm glad the Giants had the stones. Dave Gettleman, Joe Judge, the owners, they had the stones to go out and spend money this free agency. It was perfect. It was a buyer's market. There were other teams who were maxed out with their with their cap. And I remember some analysts out there, Giants beat writers who I can't stand. I can't stand mainstream media. I think they're horrible. They're just always looking to strike up controversy. They're like, well, the Giants have no salary. They have no salary cap space. They're paying this person and they're paying that person. I knew we had cap space. So we just weren't manipulating it all. It was just everyone was like evenly spaced out. So when Galladay was available, there were these rumors that there was news put out there at the end of the season. The Giants had inquired about the availability of Galladay, and there was no trade that was actually made. I'm like, okay, you know what? This is kind of like a signal flare to Galladay that, hey, we're interested in you. If you actually become a free agent, we're going to pursue you. Became a free agent. They signed him. I love they signed him for 4 years. It was $18 million a year, whatever it was. I don't care. I think it's actually what he was worth. And I actually loved it. They needed him. And I think it was a perfect compliment to the reason why they needed him is he was a perfect complement to everything else that they have. He was He's a number one. I'm not saying he's an elite. He's not a proven elite. Say like an OBJ in his prime or an Antonio Brown in his prime, or even say Tyreek Hill now. But he's a legitimate number one, and he drops everyone back to where they should be, which is like a number 2 or number 3 or a slot receiver, and he makes everything else easier. And with Saquon eventually coming back sometime this year, which I think it might be like end of September, October, those two together are going to make this, should provide this offense with a lot of potency. And it was perfect as it opened up, like I said, everything with the players that they currently have, as well as in the draft too, where they didn't have to get that number one wide receiver in the draft. They didn't have to make a trade up like the Eagles did to get Devontae Smith. And that is what I think the importance of signing Galladay was. And they signed a few players that I love, but we'll get to, I'm sure, but I've spoken enough. That's Galladay. Hand it off to either Snacks or Stephie. Take the ball, fight for it, go for it.
No, let Snacks go first. No, please, after you.
You gentlemen.
No, because then I can't correct you. No, then I can't correct you, please. He was not a gentleman. He came up late. Go.
Yeah, it's really mature.
Going,
but no, Joe, you pretty much hit everything on the nail. And Galladay is that big body receiver that I feel like Jones desperately needed, and that offense was so unbelievably anemic that it like to bring in Galladay, like you said, for $18 million, when most receivers of Galladay's stature too, like there's receivers getting paid a lot more money that may not even be as talented as Galladay. And people forget 2 years ago he had 11 touchdowns, however many yards. The guy's a stud. The separation numbers don't really pop off the chart, but to me that doesn't really matter. He can get down the field, and as we saw by scumbag PFF, Daniel Jones threw the best deep ball of anybody in the league. So you could throw a deep ball to Kenny Galladay. I mean, as Justin would correct you, the most efficient, not necessarily the best, but the most efficient. Fine, efficient. Now I only try and use words that I could spell, so that's why I didn't use the word efficient. But best is a much easier word. So I think that big body receiver outside, and I love Shep going back into the slot where that's his natural position. I think he's just he finds that chains better than anybody. It's like a safety blanket. So I think that just helps the dynamic of the offense too. Obviously, I still have my question marks about Jason Garrett's offense, but I think it's going to be pretty difficult with all the weapons that we did bring in, highlighted by Kenny to really kind of screw this up. So Kenny, to me, the red zone is where we never scored. Stephie, I don't know. Did we score in the red zone this year? I don't think we did once. Probably negative. We probably scored in the red zone negative 10 times this year. That's how little we didn't score in the red zone. So having that big body receiver on the outside where Eli would throw that fade that Plexico, and then now Daniel can do that to Kenny. Hopefully, God willing, everybody stays healthy. But I think it was a perfect signing. Earlier in the season, obviously you're looking at wide receiver free agents that you want to sign, and you see like Allen Robinson, who's been probably the most consistent wide receiver with no quarterback ever. And you're like, okay, that's a guy, but he's going to get franchised. And my biggest worry, because my focus turned to Kenny Galladay, is Detroit going to franchise him? And they didn't. So when that was the case, and that whole you remember that week when he was in the building, and it's like that anticipation.
Oh, he was faking his injury.
He was faking. I agree.
I literally spent like all of us, I spent hours figuring out he was 100% faking. There's no way around it. It was a lie.
Yep. No, I never thought he'd be available for us.
I didn't either. And then, like you said, with like the money being tight and everything, there's always cap space. The Saints have been over the cap for like 10 years in a row, and they still manage to sign people. The Rams, they manage to sign people. I don't give a crap if you're using money from next year or the year after when you're trying to build a team, especially guys that aren't 31 years old. Kenny Galladay's 27, 20, and he's still at the top of his game. He's at the top of his game right now. Yeah. And I think to give that big body receiver to Daniel Jones, who he hasn't had in his Giants career the first 2 years, or in Duke when he was throwing to future accountants, it's a pretty big deal. So I'm ecstatic about Kenny. I'm sure he'll do terrible, but I still believe that this was an unbelievable signing, and it was they had to do it. They had to do it.
Awesome.
For 18 million a year. Where do I would sign for that in blood. So correct.
I thought it was awesome.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to correct you at all. I think it was a fantastic signing. I mean, look at Daniel Jones. Look at what he's good at. We didn't Jason Garrett totally ignored that. He Ingram versed us to death. Like, that's all we saw for an entire season. You know, you have Ingram, who is the most targeted player on the team, loses 35 points. Then you have Darius Slayton, who should not have been the second most targeted player on the team, lost another 11 points. That's the difference between do you know the difference in games that you could have won there? So I think, going off of what Joe said, you allow these players to step into the role that they should have been in the first place. Ingram can have the pressure taken off since he's a big baby and he can't handle it. We got it. We get it. It's cool. You bring Rudolph in. There you go. There's the red zone threat we need. And then you have someone that can really go, the deep ball is taken care of now. I mean, look at Ross. Talk about a contested catch. Galladay, a deep ball. Come on, give me a break. So you're giving Daniel Jones every single thing that he possibly could need. The O-line is another story, but I have faith in them just being younger. Mark Colombo, for lack of a better term, is a idiot. So I think that alone, with Andrew Thomas not having a broken foot, with Cameron Fleming not tripping people, which, by the way, I think I found on film when Andrew Thomas broke his foot, is because Cameron Fleming literally gets in the way. So having him off the team, and I think he really stunted a lot of the guys' development, people like Hernandez. I think that Hernandez can actually step into a role where he does well. So you give Danny more time. You let him not be the second, third, whatever it was, most stacked quarterback. How can he not perform if, Saquon is back, which my favorite stat of all time is, out of all of Danny's starts, right? 26. He's played 27, but 26 game starts. 11 have been with Spawn. Explain to me how you can even evaluate Danny without that. When you're expecting Shep to be a wide receiver 1, you're expecting Slayton to be a wide receiver 2, which anyone can fight me. The dude's a wide receiver 3 through and through, period. He will never be a wide receiver 2. That's it. That's it. The cards are dealt. I'm done. I'm done with Darius Slayton, his 52.1% completion rate. I'm done with that. But really, I think they did a good job this offseason. I'm impressed. Even adding Ross, I got nervous there that we weren't going to get Galladay, and they added both of them, so it's pretty cool.
I hate to agree.
Yeah, listen. We are in agreement.
I don't know. I don't know how to rebuttal any of that.
Well, you know what? It's like another thing too, Justin, real quick, is that Giants. I remember we were like, I'm sorry. You can see. I'm sorry. This is my home office, and it's pointed towards my computer screen. Is pointed towards the window. I think I have food delivery over there for my niece. But anyway, we were getting, our team was, or our front office was kind of getting hammered or criticized for this money that we're spending in the off season, when other teams were taking a guy for 1 year for $6 million or $8 million approved a year contract. No, as someone like the caliber of Kenny Galladay is out there, I want his ass. I want his ass on my team right now. I wasn't expecting Rudolph at all. That was a surprise, but it was a nice surprise. And it's a 2-year deal. And then the other one, which I'm sure we'll get to, or we can start discussing now, is Adoree Jackson, which I wasn't expecting that at all as well. Adoree Jackson, people could criticize the amount of money or whatever, but the fact is that this guy was a good player. He was injured last year, and he fits what the Giants want to transition to, which is from a zone scheme, which they played last year. And the Giants defense was very solid last year, was very good, with still a lot of room for improvement. They actually want to run a press man coverage defense on their secondary.
And that's his strength.
And he fits that. He fits that. And the thing is that it was a 3-year deal for Jackson, $13 million a year. It's really a 2-year deal, because I think the third year, if I recall correctly, and I am a stud. Thank you, Johnny Chefs. My wife would agree. Back in the day, that is. I'll be 50 next month, so not so much anymore.
What?
But anyway, jokes aside, I'm joking. Everything's working, guys. Don't worry, my fan base. I'll be here until 10 o'clock every Thursday night. But Adoree Jackson, it was a 3-year deal. It's really a 2-year deal. So he's going to get us through. We need to basically get through next year in terms of managing a salary cap. We are not paying a franchise quarterback right now. This is the time to do it. I loved what they did. I loved our big signings. I loved our little signings like the wide receiver. I'm sorry, I'm brain farting in the name right now.
Ross
from Cincinnati. Yes, Ross. Even the little signings, it's like I love this free agency. It was awesome, and it set us up perfectly for the draft. Really, really happy.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you touched up on the defense just a little bit because the Giants' defense actually wasn't all that bad last season, statistically speaking. It was probably the better side of the ball for them, but they still went out of their way to kind of bolster up that defense a little bit. Like 4 of their 6 draft picks were defensive players, and then they added some key defensive players with Chris Milton and Danny Shelton, and then of course Adoree Jackson, like you already mentioned. I'm kind of happy to see that personally because the more they bolster that defense, the more it'll give time for Danny Jones and that offense to actually work something on the field.
It's a great point, Justin. And I was heartbroken when we lost Dalvin Tomlinson because that was one of the it's one of the few players I truly loved. It's been a while since I got behind a player just because of all the losing and all the years it's taken off of my life and my hairline. But so Dalvin was a tough loss for me. However, you were talking about Adoree Jackson, and to me, the strength of that team was the secondary last year. Like the secondary made that defense go, and they were ranked 9th in the league in overall total defense. So why not make a strength to strength? When he was healthy with Tennessee, guy's a baller. He's a very good player. Now, if he stays healthy, we're set. Isaac Yeldum was our cornerback 2. James Bradbury shut everybody down on the other side. Literally, nobody did anything on James Bradbury last year. So why not upgrade that cornerback 2? And he was a guy that didn't enter free agency until later on in free agency when he got cut by Tennessee stupidly. So I'm all for going out and paying a guy like that who could be our cornerback 2. And I don't mind using money from years down the line to bolster his strength. You got a secondary now when healthy. Jackson, Peppers, McKinney, Ryan, Bradbury, Darnay Holmes. They just drafted Aaron Rodgers. This team, this secondary is very good. And on paper, I don't know if they're getting enough love. I see, people ranking secondaries in the NFL. Maybe because the Giants were 6-10 last year, people don't realize that this secondary was very good, and it got even better this offseason. And I don't know. A wise man once said, make a strength to strength. I don't know which wise man that was. Not as wise as me, but he said that, and I truly believe that. Make a strength to strength. That's what what the old Giants used to do on the D-line when it was all these great defensive ends. They had Tuck, they had O.C. Manura, they had Strahan. What did they do? They went out and they drafted Mataki Kiwanuka. Make a strength to strength. So I love what they did in the secondary. That secondary is, if healthy and with Patrick Graham, it's beyond elite. Beyond elite. Now that I say that, and I've never said a good word about anybody on this team, now we know what happens. They're going to suck.
Well, you know what? It's funny. A lot of times when we expect things from the Giants over the past 10 years, we've expected a side of the ball or a unit to perform very well. Like the following year, I guess they had a great year this one year. The next year we expect great things. They seem to fall apart. That unit you expected to do well falls apart.
Or it's like a
what
flip.
I love, it is. They've done that a lot of times where they're like, okay, we're good on offense, so we're going to focus on defense, free agency, draft. And I'm just talking about in the past, over the past 10 years. Yeah, okay, the defense winds up being better and the offense winds up taking a step back. Stuff like that. But I liked that. And I am a believer that every year you need to bring in some new good blood on both sides of the ball. You can't just rest on your laurels. Like in 1984, and I'm aging myself, 84, Giants drafted Carl Banks when they had Lawrence Taylor, they had Harry Carson, Brad Van Pelt, Kelly, and probably a few others. And people were like, not that I remember this, I'm just looking at YouTube videos from back in the day because I wasn't following the draft back then. They were like, what do you need Carl Banks for? We've got linebackers out the wazoo. And the guy wants to be an awesome linebacker, obviously, and key component to the Giants' Super Bowl victories and their legacy. But I like that they really added to the defense. And you know what? Nick, I'm with you. I'm worried. Well, I'm not worried, but I should say I love my defensive tackles. I do love my hog mollies on both sides of the line. And I love that we had a really good defensive line last year. And I think it's going to be very, very good this year as well. But losing Dalvin does worry me. I think we bringing in a few other guys. I think we're going to, Danny Shelton being the top one. I think he's going to be good in stopping the run. But I thought those three in terms of Dexter Lawrence and Leo Williams, thank God who we re-signed, and that was another big fan. I was a big fan of that re-signing. And Dalvin Tomlinson, those three were like, if not an elite line for 3-4 defense, they were damn well on their way. But I think they're going to be good. I still think they're going to be very good this year. I love what they did with the secondary. I love the second round pick with Azeez Ojulari. I absolutely loved it. And Cam Robinson in the third round was friggin' interesting because we did have a good secondary, and we were trying to make do with this zone defense in the back end. And actually, Isaac Yadam got better. I'm not buying a Yadam jersey right now, but he did get better playing zone coverage, as the season went on. But you look at the secondary, you've got Logan Ryan as probably your backup safety, right? And you've got a Yadam, who's lower man on the totem pole, but
McKinney.
McKinney, exactly.
We have to talk about him. People forget, especially fans.
Yes, because he was injured. Yeah.
We're about to have 2 years in a row where we have stolen the second round, stolen it from everyone in the league. You don't get Azeez and McKinney back to back like that in rounds where they could have gone in the first round. I'm right, I think everyone, it's hard for people we only saw McKinney for 1.5 games, but he made an impact when he was there. He was one of my favorite recruits going into last year too. I think he went way later than he should have. And I think that people are going to see him come in to, this season and really have an impact. He also is also forgotten about. He can play corner. He played all over the place in college. Very versatile player. It doesn't really matter. So I like what Joe Judge is doing in the sense where I think he's building on this versatility concept. And I think that's something that the Giants have lacked for a very long time. It's been a while since, we've built on strength. So our secondary proved to be something. We finished in the top 10 defenses for sure. 9 and 8, depending where you get your stats from. But if you have a great secondary, I haven't seen the Giants do this where you just add to it. Let's just add some icing to the cupcake that's already there, which is fantastic, right? Why don't we just make it even better? And I think that the Giants get slept on because I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Twitter or what the deal is, but it's people act like we literally we won 2 games. We won 6 games, and a bunch of them were lost by a single point. Calm down. The Giants are not.
Should have won at least.
Agree, Steph.
And against teams that everyone was on their knees bowing down to as well. So I think that there's something to it. And you know what? Giants fans know you can very much win with a fantastic defense. You saw it with the Bucs this past year. If we're going to stack on anything, stack on defense. I don't care. But I think that, the Joe Judge culture and coaching is my huge thing that's going on. We haven't seen this since guys like Brandon Jacobs, guys like OC, guys like Justin Tuck, the guys that we loved and adored for years. We haven't seen that culture in a really long time. Have Blake Martinez say, I want to be a Giants for life. For Patrick Graham to turn down, head coach, there's something is happening, right? And I don't want to get too excited, but I am impressed with what is going on so far.
Well, God damn it. I unfortunately agree. I know. I really do. I unfortunately agree. I'm trying really hard to find a disagreement here where I can just attack her and, because it's a show and I could do that. It's not going to send me controversy. It's not going to send me to jail or anything. Yeah. Okay. So I think for the first time in a long time, I don't know, 10 years. I'm finally excited about this.
Shot himself. I don't care.
Pretty much. I'm finally
OBJ, and then we got rid of him. We haven't had a wide receiver one since then. That's crazy.
I don't talk about that kind of players like that. But for the first time in a long time, I'm finally excited about the direction this team is going. I think they hired the right guy. I think they hired the right guy. And Stephanie's right. The culture in and itself is such a big thing. Like we saw this team with Pat Shurmur and Ben McAdoo, and it was like they would go down by 7 and they'd quit. It's over. And then you'd watch their press conferences, and it's just like these guys would lose, and they would be on those Zoom calls this past year, and they're like, no, it's fine. We correct this, and they're our belief in Coach George, our belief in Coach Graham. Like they have all
standings don't matter.
No, it's true. Go ahead. I'm sorry,
real quick, Nick. You know what? The thing with, and I hear what you're saying about McAdoo, like that was like a team of veterans, and that was depressing. Like 2017 was a depressing ass season. Veterans maxed out with salary cap space, and you're like, pretty empty in the bucket in terms of like high-end young talent that you drafted to look forward to. It wasn't there. With the Shurmur, I don't think the teams like ever gave up. The players played hard because they're young players playing for the second contract anyway. But there was definitely like you could sense it as there were some Giants. There were Giant fans and Giants content creators who were like, I don't know. They were like, I don't know if Shurmur should be let go when he was let go last year and replaced by Judge because continuity. There's such a thing as good continuity and bad continuity. And with Shurmur's a good guy and he's a good offensive coordinator, an even better quarterbacks coach, but he was basically doing it all. He was the head coach, he was the OC, the QB coach. The team suffered for it. And to be fair to him, he was lacking in talent. He was lacking in talent as well. But there was something very much missing from that team. And Joe Judge comes from the old school, which I love, whether it's Belichick, who kind of like got it from Parcells. You could throw Coughlin in there too. And it's not a hard assery to make up a term. It's not that. It's accountability. It's friggin' accountability. Yeah. And I remember like the teams and the Giants teams in the 80s that I grew up with, and even the Coughlin teams, they eventually got there. It's it's like you're self-policing, what's expected, you're professionals, and the BS is thrown out the door. And if you really want to win games, you got to come together, you got to focus. And I think that's where you're getting under Judge. Do you guys remember even last year, like, Joe Judge's like first spring training as coach, where you got ESPN morons mocking him because he's got cornerbacks wearing tennis balls taped to the hands. I'm like, dude, this is they're like mocking him, like, who does this? I'm like, this is a great idea. He's trying to teach them not to grab, not to
the school football.
The fact that
millennials.
You had former professional football players, albeit Emmanuel Akko, whatever the hell his name is, they played like maybe
I didn't even
snaps.
heard of the guy until it was ESPN.
Right, so exactly. And he's saying this is never going to work, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think the Giants were called for like the least defensive secondary penalties in football. So maybe it did work. It did work. Dopey. I don't know. I'm not a football savant. I have no idea, but clearly something worked. And it's so true. And what did he say? What did he say in his opening press conference? And I'm gonna say the line wrong because Judge? I'm a moron. Yeah, you can't fit square pegs in a circle
into round holes. Into round holes.
Exactly. And that's you saw what this coaching staff did. And this team has lacked good coaching for a while. Like you were talking about Shurmur. And I like Shurmur a lot as an offense coordinator. We saw what Daniel Jones did with Pat Shurmur and limited weapons as his offense coordinator. Look at the difference between Daniel Jones' rookie year and Daniel Jones with Jason Garrett. It's night and day. So Shurmur was absolutely on the pulse of Daniel Jones in the offense.
He was.
The fact is, he could not coach a full team, and he couldn't do it in Cleveland. Maybe he got a raw deal again with minimal talent. If Pat Shurmur was my offensive coordinator this year, there's no chance in hell I'd be a miserable bastard on Twitter. I would be so happy if Pat Shurmur were the offensive coordinator for this team. Not the head coach, the offense coordinator. You had Judge running the ship and then Shurmur the offense coordinator. You know how happy I would be?
Yeah.
That's like a dream team. Shurmur, OC, Graham, Judge.
Yeah. You know what? It's like Judge came in here. He said exactly what he was going to do. He has done exactly that thus far. every press conference he has got on and said, I don't care what the standings are. I don't care what the records are. Daniel Jones is our quarterback. Daniel Jones is our quarterback. Like, the fantasy community and the league, you guys want to laugh. It's funny. Ha ha ha. Daniel Jones tripped. Okay, also a scoring drive. Like, he also ran faster than your quarterbacks. He also, ran for more yards than your quarterbacks did. But this is the Giants way. If you are a true Giants fan and you remember history, they used to chant at the games, "You wish you were Peyton," to Eli Manning. One of Eli Manning's worst games.
Justin.
One of his worst seasons was 2007. The season that he won a Super Bowl was one of his worst seasons in history. Eli Manning at one point was a turnover machine. You add Daniel Jones with his mobility and his deep ball threat that Eli very much had, but like, you can't keep giving up on rookie quarterbacks just because they trip and they have turnovers. Okay, well, they don't have an O-line and they have no weapons. They have no Saquon Barkley. There's no wide receiver 1. The wide receiver 2, that's kind of a 2-3, is a wide receiver 1. And somehow our tight end who can't catch the ball is wide receiver 1, tight end 1, running back 1, and is also playing on the line. So I think that everyone needs to give the Giants a little bit more credit. Daniel Jones, like, for example, if he played on Miami, I think we'd be having a little bit different of a conversation because the Giants were horrific last year. To win 6 games is impressive.
It was a miracle. And the fact they won 6 is impressive. And the fact that you could literally say they should have beat the Super Bowl champion Bucs on Monday Night Football at MetLife Stadium.
Rams.
And the Bucs,
the Rams game, the Bears game.
The Bucs weren't the Bucs at that time.
No. They weren't.
No,
they
were obviously
still Tom
much
Brady
more
on the field. We still should have won. We still should have won that game.
Yes.
There were plenty of
Much more
games that we were right there. We should have won. There's probably 3 games you could rip off. The Niners, the Cardinals,
First
and
Eagles
the
game.
Ravens. Please, I would. I drove to Philly. I drove to Philly for
Brandon Jacobs' dumb helmet signed the whole game because they scored, and I was like walking around my house.
Wait, time out.
Like
How much? You have a Brandon Jacobs signed helmet?
Yes.
How much you want?
That's
for
a
it?
royalty.
Nothing.
That's
You'll give it to me for free?
And this is like, do you think I'm like not actually a fan? Like, my only good memories are here.
Wait, time out. That has nothing to do with me saying you're not a fan. I just asked if you have one. I'm a fan. I don't have one.
Brandon Jacobs is going to be our new defensive end. I'm so excited.
I love it. And what's his name is from the Panthers is going to be our new tight end.
Oh yeah, Kelvin Benjamin.
No, we already have what's his name.
Benjamin.
Oh yeah.
Well, Booger McFarland did say it right. He was a Popeye biscuit away from being a tight end, and sure enough,
He did slim out a little bit.
Him. Did he?
Yeah, he looks good, but apparently he was dropping the ball day to day.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when you don't play football for like 2 years. You probably.
Then again, it's very on brand for our tight ends.
That is true. That's a good point.
Tight end,
hold on. That's real quick, because we didn't really talk about it. Kyle Rudolph is such like a nice underrated signing because he could actually catch the ball, and he's an amazing red zone threat. Yeah, that's a very. I wasn't like ecstatic about it to begin with. Like I was like, all right, Kyle Rudolph, his best days are probably behind him, and then I realized I'm like, Evan Ingram is my tight end who can't catch the ball, and all Kyle Rudolph does is catch the ball.
Besides that, Snacks, tell me right now, if I were to say to you, replicate Jason Witten for Jason Garrett, name the player. Go, quick, go. It's Rudolph, right? They're easily, without a doubt. There is no way to replicate Witten in any better fashion. Like, because I really feel like Jason Garrett lost Saquon. Slayton, Shep do their things, and he has a very limited playbook. And that's the only way that I will defend him is that, you don't have a lot of work to work with. You also break Freeman. You're really running through players at that point. And I think that he was just going to what he knows, and what he knows is Witten, and that was his security blanket for years. But at the end of the day, Ingram is not Witten at all. That is not, Ingram is this weird tight end wide receiver. I don't know what he is. He needs to keep his feet on the damn ground when he catches the ball.
Good luck.
Yeah. But I think that the closest that you can get to Witten is Rudolph. And I think, even I've been saying this to fantasy people too, like pick him up off waivers and throw him on your taxi squad, because I'm telling you, Rudolph is going to end up making an impact, because when it comes to the red zone, Jason Garrett is still tunnel vision. It doesn't matter how many weapons you give him, and he's going to use the weapons. But when it comes to the red zone, it's all Rudolph, because he tried to do it with Ingram, and then Ingram reversed us to death.
You know what? The Rudolph signing, you know what it reminded me of? The same feeling that is. It actually, well, the Rudolph signing happened first, but it reminded me of Tony in hindsight, the Tony drafting, where I'm kind of like, what? Wasn't expecting it, didn't make sense. Yeah. And the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, all right.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Joe Judge.
The Giants front office is playing 5D chess. You know, we're all playing regular chess. These guys are geniuses.
Maybe I should try to find Judge's office for my background.
Your draft did confuse me a little bit. The Colts office a little bit. I was, the draft. I was like, for a couple.
DJ is obviously the big. That's like he's the biggest topic as Giants fans that we're facing. So I guess what are our thoughts on that with Daniel Jones? I mean, I've got my own thoughts as well, but Stephanie, what do you think in terms of like what we've seen, what to expect? What do you how do you value this guy? How do you perceive him yourself?
I think that everyone has decided Daniel Jones sucks because he threw a bunch of turnovers, because he was pressured to one of the highest rates that any quarterback was. He was given the least amount of weapons. For some reason, we forgive every other quarterback except for Daniel Jones. Everyone forgot to that wasn't a full year two. He didn't reach that point. He didn't reach 16 games until this year.
It was weird. Yeah, it was a weird second year.
The way that he was transitioned in is not normal. He's also been given different coaches, different weapons. He loses Saquon, who is, again, I'm going to use the word security blanket. I don't know why that's the word that I keep coming to, but that was his security blanket. I told you guys before that he has 26 game starts, 27 games that he's played. 11. This is seriously, I'm going to keep repeating it until everyone is so sick of me. 11 of those have been simultaneously with Saquon. 11. You have not seen Daniel Jones by any means. He has only had less than half of his games are with Saquon, and Saquon's our guy. Yeah. So you add in someone like Galladay, and Daniel Jones let Daniel Jones free. RPO him to death. Let him throw the deep ball. Give him that option. Let him have, now that he's stepping into the leadership role, there's no reason Daniel Jones, besides for the O-line, which is, we could spend another hour on. And the O-line is really my biggest concern. I think Jason Garrett has enough babysitters that will hold his hand and fix the playbook, and he's not my concern. So I think my biggest concern absolutely is that O-line. But I'm not totally concerned, because I really felt like last year Cam Fleming was the problem. Gates, right? That was his first year playing center. There's so many factors.
And he was good, and he got better and better. We all love Gates.
The snaps were high.
All right.
To chill.
So here, okay. So I did my best to try and find something I can disagree with, and I don't want to say I disagree with, but I think I want to slightly alter. I wouldn't say I'm what did you say? I'm not worried about Daniel. I'm a little worried.
Of course I'm worried. But I also think he improves. He's also been giving crap. And we've seen what teams like the Jets do to guys like that. So I don't
agree. And I think now it's now, I don't want to say now or never, because that's a lot of pressure, but it kind of almost is. With this front office is really now or never. Right. I think
everyone said this about Eli the second year. Remember?
I understand. Then what he did with his third year. I get it. And they brought in all these weapons for him. And I like the way Jones throws the ball, and the way he runs the ball is even better. So if Garrett has any creative bone in his redheaded stupid body, then he can obviously utilize a healthy Saquon and Daniel to effectiveness. And then when that opens up, then you have Kenny on the outside. And then you got this little gadget player in Kadarius Toney, who's as fast as lightning. You could do something with him too. And you got Shepard in the slot as your safety blanket. All the weapons are there for him. It's about the scheme and the offensive line to me, because I do believe, I can't believe I'm saying this, I swear to God, if anybody clips it or whatnot, I do believe in Daniel Jones's talent. I believe in his heart. I believe in hard work, and I believe in intelligence, and I think he has both. And to me, that goes a long way. Does he have the strongest arm? No. Does he have a very accurate ball? Yeah. Does he maybe put the ball on the ground a little bit?
He doesn't have the strongest arm.
He doesn't have the strongest arm. Let's come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Paul
He's
Joe
got
does.
some
Let's
he's
bring
got
Big
beautiful
Ben on.
touches
He's
on
got
the
a beautiful
Really
deep
does.
pass. Come on.
Oh,
Yeah.
He does.
I'm not saying he doesn't. I know. I'm talking about.
I
I'm
know.
talking about like a 15-yard out where he's bulleting it to that sideline. It's not the strongest. He can do it. He can do it, but it's not the strongest. I'm not saying it's the weakest. I'm just saying it's not the strongest.
I don't think we've seen him throw to targets that can handle that either.
Well, because they can't.
Ingram is like
they
a
also can't get
ballerina.
open. They can't get. Nobody could get open. That was also another huge problem, and why the offensive line sucked.
Well,
They'd run
because
routes.
then Dale gets
they'd run
sacked
routes.
and he fumbles. Like
They'd
shit.
run routes, and nobody would be open. So what does this poor bastard have to do? He's got to scramble around the pocket because he can't get out because the tackles were so bad. Can't get out that way, and then he just fumbled. So last year, with no training camp, new system, brand new offensive line, essentially, no weapons, no nothing, he got a raw deal. I'm very excited for this year, and I'm not gonna say it. No, I'm not gonna say it. No, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna do it.
Say it. Come on, do it, Nick. Here's my.
I think he has a great year.
John
I think Daniel has a very nice year.
I think he's going to have a nice year too, and this is my feeling on Jones too. Is I really believe in the guy. Am I going to mortgage my house and saying that? Yeah, I guarantee he's our franchise quarterback for years going forward. No, but I think this guy has all the important intangible traits that I want in a quarterback, and he's shown it all, and he has shown it fairly consistently. And this is what I'm saying in my message is really more, I think, for like non-Giants fans who are watching this, and the perception from outside or that gets fed to you by ESPN or the other nonsense is that you have to look. Yes, there are numbers, and there's always stories behind the numbers too. This is a guy who, honestly, if it wasn't for Sam Darnold and the Jets, that he may have been, set up for failure worse than anyone over the past few years. Sam Darnold takes the cake. It was almost like they drafted Darnold, the Jets, and said, hey, I want to be cruel to you and make sure that you fail. All right. That's how
believe in Darnold.
Yeah.
Believe in Darnold.
It's like, we hate you.
In Daniel Jones. It's so funny.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, he's had more weapons, but none of them. They traded OBJ before his rookie season started, and all of his receivers up until they signed Galladay had been good players, but complimentary number 2, number 3 receivers, whether it's a wide receiver or tight end like Ingram. Barkley, his rookie year. Let me tell you something about Daniel Jones and how friggin' impressed I was with his rookie year. This is a guy, if you go in any rookie quarterback, drafted number 1, drafted number 6 like Jones, or drafted 31st like Lamar Jackson, whoever, you have a rookie quarterback going in, and over a 12-game span, which is healthy. It's not a 4-game span. It's a 12-game span. The guy puts up, it was 24 passing touchdowns and 12 interceptions, which projects out to 32 TDs and 16 interceptions over a full season for a rookie quarterback. 32 and 16. Honestly, that was like an Eli
pretty damn good
normal season. It's pretty damn good, right? That's awesome. You say, hell yeah, I'm going to take that. And then you say, hey, guess what?
Team.
Yes, and guess what? Guess what, right, Steph? I think you're breaking up there. Your screen was frozen there. Guess what? Not only did he put up these numbers without our number 1 wide receiver, the weapons he had were mostly injured. A good Sunday for him in his rookie year was a healthy Darius Slayton, who was your 5th round pick. Either a healthy Golden Tate or a Sterling Shepard. You weren't going to get both, and then you'd get a hobbled Saquon Barkley, and later on in the year we'll give you a Caden Smith who wound up being a nice surprise. Okay, that was it. And you'd have an offensive line that's still crap like it's been since 2012 or 2013. Anyone would take that. They'd run to the bank with that. And then last year, you've got no preseason. Everyone says, oh, no team's had any preseasons. Yeah, this is a team with no preseason, with a new head coach, new offensive coach, completely new system from what they had before. And you had, again, not even just a hobbled Saquon. You had no Saquon whatsoever. You still had the complementary receivers. And he didn't put up a great season. even though he got better as the season went along, it wasn't pretty. But I've seen a lot from this guy where I really do believe him. Am I betting the bank on this guy? No. But I think he's got the important intangible traits that I want from him. And I'm glad to see for the first time in his career, he should have, I'm sorry, Nick, I'm wrapping up. He should have the weapons that he needs to make himself good, which he didn't even have at friggin' Duke in the SEC.
No, see, Joe, you don't have to say sorry.
I love his balls. The guy's got big balls.
Listen, no, big balls are good. I know we have women on the podcast and everything.
Meaning he's got cojones, meaning that he stays in the pocket. That's what I mean.
I know. But no, Joe, you're 100% right, and that's why I still have confidence in him because of those intangibles that you said. Darius Slayton had a very nice rookie year under Pat Shurmur, and we all expected him to be like this really this wide receiver one, like Stephie was saying before.
We will never finish the show if we talk about Slayton because
and that's it. That's it. No, that's the last thing I'm going to say. But we like Steph said before, he's not a wide receiver. He's a wide receiver three. He's a very wide receiver three.
That's it.
They went in with no weapons, didn't upgrade the weapons, nothing like that. They finally did this year, and we saw the potential his rookie year, what he could do. Yeah. Give him another year in a system that I'm hopeful can evolve. And I put gel in my hair so it doesn't look like I have red hair, so I don't look like Jason Garrett. So I am praying.
Wasn't.
What?
Sorry, I'm yelling at John. Sorry, in the comments. He's a very big Slayton fan. It's okay.
That's okay. Well, we like Slayton, just not where the Giants had him. But yes, Joe, I'm with you. Intelligence, toughness, everything. He works hard. Those are the intangibles I like. And that's pretty much what Eli had too. If you remember, that was Eli. He was inaccurate. He was throwing ducks and everything.
He sucked.
He did suck. He did.
He sucked. He sucked.
I was one of those fans in 2007.
Wait. I haven't heard Justin's voice since Vietnam. Hold on, Justin. You got something to say?
I wanted to say that we do definitely want to try to wrap this up before an hour mark. So I got one last question that we're going to go around the horn on. Just a couple quick minutes each so that I can do an outro. But so I started with Joe last time, so I'll start down with Snacks and go the other way around. I want to wrap this up the same way I've wrapped up all of these bonus episodes. At the end of the season, you're going to look back on this season and you're going to think either A, this was an incredible season because this happened, or they hit this certain number of wins, or whatever the case is, or B, you're going to look back and say, man, this was a horrible season. I can't believe they did this, or whatever. What is that breaking point for you? What do you think it is that's going to leave you with thinking that it was a great season or it was another failed season?
Okay, so I would never talk good about the Giants because that's just not what I do, and I hate it. But I will say this was such a good
that I can clip, so you might as well go for it.
This has been such a. I'm actually almost shell shocked at like agreeing with Stephanie and Joe. Obviously carried it all, but from I think this season is going to be a great success because I think Daniel Jones takes that third year leap. Not people talk about the Josh Allen third-year leap, which is, I think, a little unrealistic, but I think he takes a great leap with these offensive weapons. But I think the offensive line performs a lot better than what everybody else thinks they do. Yeah. I think with coaching, with another year of experience, with another year in this system, I think they take a massive leap. And as our probably our biggest weakness going in, I think that's the one that really is going to make this team go. And I do believe the Giants can win 9-10 games and win the NFC East because I think that defense is so good. And I think, while Washington has a great defense, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm sorry, doesn't scare me. Taylor Heineke scared me more. So I do think the Giants and the Cowboys are going to battle it out, and I think the Giants are going to take it over. I don't know why I'm doing this right now. I'm going to regret it in the morning, and I'm probably going to hate myself for the rest of my life. But I'm very excited for this offensive line that I think takes the next step. And I can come back on the same way. If it's not, it's all in the offensive line because they don't make that progression that I think they're going to, and the coaching doesn't do what I think they can do, and I think this coaching is so well, and they just decide to just keep sacking Daniel Jones and not giving him a second. But the defense, I have not a word bad to say about that defense. I don't know if I've trusted anybody more in my life than Joe Judge and Patrick Graham. No, I haven't trusted anybody more in my life than I have Joe Judge and Patrick Graham.
Shake and bake.
So I think that defense is going to be even better than it was last year with the additions they brought in. And I think the offensive line is going to grow and improve. Boom. I cannot believe I was just positive.
Good.
It's not me.
I like it. I like it.
Not me.
I'm glad that first was on my show. That makes me feel honored. Stephie, you're up.
9 games. That's all I want, right? I wanted 5 games last season. I want 9 games this season. I think there's 0 excuses. We could have easily had 9 last season without a doubt in my mind. So you add all these weapons, you give Pert time to develop, start Pert. That's one of my, that's one of my biggest things. If the O-line fails, it's because they chose to let it fail. I think that the weapons are there. There's really no excuse for this O-line to, I'm not expecting them to enter the top 20 conversation. I just want you to give enough time for Daniel Jones to use his new toys. I'm cool with it because I think last year, drafting Andrew Thomas and Matt Pert and allowing them to develop together, I mean, we're talking about getting your franchise dudes that you need, right? Anyone could dream of that in one draft class. So if you give them the time to develop, we're not going to finish in the top 20. That's it. I think finishing with 9 wins is fantastic. I'm a realistic Giants fan. I thought 5 last year. We got 6. I think 9 this year. I hope we get 10. I would love to show the NFC East who we are and definitely come out with a win. But again, I love being the underdog as well. Where the Giants are known for that. We Giants fans know we don't win by a lot of points.
Great point.
We love underdogs.
We're underdogs always. You're never going to get a blowout by the Giants, really. That's not it's not how we do it. It's not our brand. So I'd like 9 wins. 9 wins, I'm happy. 8 wins, and I'll let you Giants fans know Daniel Jones is staying around. Okay?
8 wins,
you better get used to him. 8 wins, that boy is staying. So get comfortable because
can you not call a boy, please?
Why?
Sorry.
He is.
No, I want my quarterback to be a man. Doll, please.
Well, he's developing. This year, he's going to be a man. Last year, he was a boy.
I still don't know that he's even shaved yet. So
he looked great, though. Did you see how yoked? They're going to drug test him if you haven't seen him. He looks.
I think one thing that's definite is that this division is going to be vastly better than it was last season.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think if you're saying 9 wins, if they're able to pull that off, and let's say you said maybe we're fortunate enough to get a 10 wins in the NFL now with 7 teams making the playoffs. Even if they don't win the division at 10 wins, they still have a shot at the playoffs.
Absolutely.
In that situation. So I think that's really what you're looking for is that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay, can I tell you guys my dream really quick, and then I'm sorry, I know you want to wrap up, but my dream is for I would love to see Brady again. I imagine going to the Super Bowl this year. It would be very interesting. Okay, go ahead.
Well, you can't beat Brady in the Super Bowl, so
yeah, I know, but still,
you want to beat Brady to go to the Super Bowl. And Justin, I know you.
I want to beat Brady. Is all.
Yes, I know what you mean.
I want to ruin.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I want him to forever remember this color blue and forever have nightmares. And Justin, I know you want to wrap it up. And Joe, I know you have one last thing to say. But Justin, after Joe talks, can I have just 30 seconds after Joe? I have one thing to say. Just one.
Absolutely.
Joe, go ahead, Joe. I'll do it after you because I want to hear. I want to hear your season.
Listen, Steph and Snacks, you guys, you pretty much wrapped it up perfectly for me. Me myself, I'm not focused on making the playoffs. What I want to do is, for me, a successful season, Justin, would be being in playoff contention in December. And I just want to get to. For me, I want to be 9-7, or I'm sorry. What are we? 17 games now. So excuse me. I want to be 9-8 or 10-7. That's what I want to. That's for me. I'm I'll be happy, but it also depends on the rest of the story. What's going on? What are the storylines during the season? So obviously I want to see. I do think that right now you've got a young quarterback who's being developed over here. I don't know if you can see that. You've got an offensive line, very young offensive line, and I love that they're just going young because this is a unit that ideally you want to. They're young. You want to play them together. You want to develop them together. but that's a young O-line that you've got to develop. And you've got your receivers and your other weapons, including Barkley and whoever else. You're developing them over here. You want to bring them all together. And, I think that's going to happen this year, and they're going to show a lot of improvement. It's got to be proven. I mean, Daniel Jones, most of this is on him. And like I said, I believe in him, but he's got to show it, and there's criticism that I just don't like. I think it's just ugly against him. It's just stupid. And it goes back to when he was drafted and you've got these like ESPN talking heads. It's almost like it's personal garbage. And I'd like to see him really shut them up, but it is ultimately on him. And I don't think he was in the best position to win, be put in the best position to win over the past 2 seasons. But this year, I think, people say no excuses. It's not excuses. It's explanations. Be adults. I think he can, he's going to, I think, improve. I do think the O-line is going to improve. I do believe in these young guys. They're not going to be great, but they're going to be good enough for this year. They're going to improve enough to really help a lot. And I think these guys have got, they're hungry, these guys. And they play kind of like angry and they're especially road graders. I'm looking forward to the O-line. And the wide receivers, I think they actually have legitimate weapons that complement each other well. And I do think it's come together. So I'm looking forward to it. You never know what the season's going to bring. So, in terms of like how the other teams do, but 9-7, like this is the first time I'm a realist. I'm not someone who's rose-colored glasses. I remember 2 years ago on some other podcast, Giants fans were calling in like, saying, oh, we got Saquon Barkley. We're going to be like 9-7, 10-6, 11-5. I'm like, what are you thinking? We have no defense, first of all. And, but I think we're going to take the next big step, which is winning. And that's what matters. And from there, I think it's a team that still has a little ways to go. They've got more talent. They've got young talent that needs to be developed, and they need to get more talent as the next season or two go on. And then they'll be in a position, I believe, to for sustained success. I'm not interested in 1 year. I'm interested in, like Gettleman said when he came on board as general manager, he wants to build for sustained success. And I think that's what we're going to see. I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
Amen.
What do you got?
I just Jim Fossil, rest in peace.
Good one. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So whatever. Justin, this is not a curse because it's 2 separate words. Whatever D-bag says, Snacks needs the last word. It was a good last word. Okay.
It was. It was incredible.
A good last word.
That was me. That was me, by the way. I'm the one.
Forward now.
It was.
Forward now. Oh my gosh.
It was a great joke at the time, but now I feel like a complete ass. But I'm okay. That was a great way to conclude this episode.
It was a very tough day yesterday. So rest in peace, Jim. That was my first coach, Stephanie. I'm sure it was your first coach. So yes.
Yeah, very
rest in peace, man.
Yeah.
And Justin, thank you very much, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick, I'm going to throw it back down here again at the bottom. You guys can check out the guests at all of their social media down there. This is only video, so I don't need to say all the audio. Like I don't need to verbalize all the different places you can find them. But just on your way out, I will say, Stephie, I know that you're busy. You're on almost every episode, it seems like, or almost every evening we see something pop up that you're about to come on a show, and you're putting in the work. I really appreciate the grind. So thank you very much for coming on. Nicky, like I said, you already know that I'm a big fan of you, of the show. So keep putting out that awesome material. And now I even have another show with Bleeding Blue that I didn't even know about, which floors me. So I'm definitely going to be checking that out. And I can thank Joe for that one because he's the one that handled that before the show. So, and Joe, obviously, thank you for your time as well. Like John told me that you were a Giants fan, and I saw that you weren't a part of any show. So all I was expecting was for you to talk about the team you love. I wasn't expecting this. You really blew it out of the water, man. All 3 of you guys are amazing. This is the type of episode that I wanted when I put this together, when I'm trying to find Giants fans. I don't think I could have found 3 better Giants fans to do this show with. So I appreciate your time.
I agree.
Thank you so much. This is awesome.
Even though all Giants fans are like this, that's how awesome we are. Because our team's awesome.
Nice. All right. So you guys have a good evening. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to check out all the other off-season team-by-team breaks.